Jay, is my presentation in the right format?
Looks perfect, Joy. Yep. So, welcome back from break, everyone. I am pleased to introduce Joey Gopherth, the Plant Pest Administrator for the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in the Plant Industry Division. And yes, your presentation is up, and we absolutely love that logo in Pennsylvania and are highly considering stealing it. But I didn't say that out loud. Take it away, Joy.
Thank you so much. Well, you guys have given me 15 minutes to cover a topic that I could talk about for hours and hours. So mostly I'm just going to really hit a lot of pictures and hit the highlights, and then there'll be time for questions in the end, I hope. But I do tend to get really long-winded on this topic, and thank you for the compliment on our logo. That was a product of our graphics department here at the North Carolina Department of Agriculture in conjunction with our handlers. I've been communicating with them on everything that we do, everything we create, because this is really just such an exciting time for us, and I wanted everybody to be able to have input. But I do like the logo as well, and please feel free to steal it, because we wouldn't be where we are without Pennsylvania's help. I know Dana has gotten a lot of kudos. Many states have offered help to us, but not as much as Pennsylvania for all they've done, and we're just very, very grateful. And so to kick off our Canine Detector program, this is brand new for us, just began in November. We just got our dogs in November. Let's see, I want to make sure that I give kudos to all the people who made this happen. And I know that I'm going to forget some people overall, but this was really the genesis of this was Joe Beckwith, our state plant health director, contacted me long ago and said, would you have any interest in having a canine detector dog? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't? And so I knew that there were 3 dogs available, and they were available to states that were receiving spotted lanternfly funding. And so I figured the likelihood of us getting a dog was next to none. Just didn't figure it was probably really going to happen for us. So I didn't get my hopes up. And then it came up a couple more times. Joe was very tenacious in his meetings and would come back and ask me if we were still interested, and we were. And I was shocked that that the dogs weren't going, other places. And it was simply that the other states couldn't figure out how to create positions as quickly as to be able to incur them in fiscal year 21, and we wouldn't have been able to either. And I said, well, what if we can take the dogs and we can absorb the salary? So that's really how we got to where we were. And then Betsy Randall Shadle, who is the Canine Cross-Functional Working Group representative, who is also here in North Carolina, just coincidentally, she was such a tremendous help in connecting us to all the right people and assisting me with putting together my work plan and my budget. And then Aaron Beaumont, who oversees the National Detector Dog Training Center in Newnan, Georgia. He was completely available to us for all of our questions as we began. And if anybody's interested in the Detector Dog program, do your homework before you get started. There's so much more to it than you could ever imagine. And Aaron was fantastic to answer all of our questions. And then Greg Parr helped to kick us off as well. And I think he was, well, I don't know, I may be speaking for Greg, but I felt like he was fighting for us to get our dog as well. He's also on a cross-functional working group. And then Dave Crucho, who was the national policy manager previously at the time that we were getting our dog, and then of course currently Kai Baruther and Fode Conte. If I mispronounce your names, I apologize. Who are current national policy managers with USDA. So unlike Dia that you saw pictures of earlier, our dogs we do have dogs that are funded through USDA. So our program is a little different, and that's also different than what Pennsylvania has for the Detector Dog program as well. But again, really all the credit goes to USDA for even giving us this opportunity. So we have 2 employees. Like I said, we decided to go ahead and start with employees that we had as opposed to hiring new employees. I'm not even really sure how that would look, because if you hired a new employee, simply because your handlers that are trained, those are the handlers for those dogs consistently. You can't, if that employee leaves, the dog leaves. So, hiring someone temporarily or, even kind of sight unseen, not sure how it's going to work out For me personally, I wouldn't probably been comfortable with that anyway. So I actually lobbed it up to all of our field staff, gathered some information, and continued to have informational sessions to see if any of our staff was even interested. And if they weren't, we would have declined, thank you SGA, but declined the offer. And fortunately, we had 2 employees that after hearing all that they were going to have to go through and what it was going to look like for them, they were very gracious and offered to go through the very rigorous training and accept the additional job responsibilities of being canine handlers. And that's who you see in this picture. We have, you'll get to meet our handlers here in a few minutes, but the other person that I wanted to be sure and acknowledge was Dave Jones, who was the trainer for our 2 handlers, who is based out of the USDA Canine Detector Training Center in Newnan, Georgia. And our staff went, they actually expedited our training and made it an 8-week training. They spent, our staff spent 4 weeks in Newnan, Georgia training, and then an additional 4 weeks in Winchester, Virginia training, where there is spotted lantern fly. And so that's what their training looked like, was a concentrated 8 weeks of them being away from their families. And then, starts with just basic, not even just dog handling, but canine care. And, they can take someone that has no dog handling experience like Jackie and Chad did. They're much like me, dog lovers, and have had dogs, but, having the responsibility of a working dog is very different. And so while they were in Newnan, Georgia, their 4 weeks there, the picture on the right is how they started. That was one of the first videos they sent me that was just really exciting to watch, where they put different scents in the boxes and they take the dog from box to box to box to box, and he will sit and alert whenever he finds the right scent. And they go in those circles over and over and over. And they begin, that was how the process actually began. And then they worked hard to introduce the handlers and the dogs into all kinds of situations that they are likely going to be in for the work that they're going to be doing. So both of these pictures were done during the actual training process, relatively early on. Again, this was also during training, and for us, this is one of our greatest assets. As it's been mentioned before, I mean, there's just no way to see all surfaces. There's no way really to know what's underneath those trucks. What's behind a wheel well. These dogs can find something we just absolutely can't see, and so they are completely invaluable to us. And what they are looking for are devitalized egg masses. Our canines can only detect egg masses, which they can also detect egg masses that have hatched. They do better with fresh egg masses, but they can detect egg masses that have hatched as well. So they can work year round doing what they do. And these are our handlers, Chad Taylor, who has Nico. And interestingly, when the dogs come into the Canine Detector program, USDA assigned them a name, and so that there's no duplication. And so Nico's original name before he came to USDA was Goose, and they figured out along the way that he actually responds a little better to Goose. So on all our federal paperwork, he's Nico, but to all of us, he's Goose. And then and Chad is based out of Boone, North Carolina, which is actually very close to the Virginia line. So he's close to the newest population in Virginia, just right across the line, which is advantageous to us and Virginia. We will be sending our dogs up there to help them survey. And then Jackie Purdue and her dog Kita. This was the day that they graduated. If you look in the background of Jackie's picture, you can see Goose playing in the background. And so one of the things that I loved, one of the stories I love to tell, was that when we first started talking about getting a dog, I think we were all thinking about, the kind of drug detector dogs that you see at the airport, and we're thinking German Shepherd, or we were really thinking, and these are just the happiest go lucky dogs, and they are full of energy and lots of fun. And Jackie and Kita are based here in the Raleigh area. Again, this all just happened very organically with 2 employees that wanted to take on this responsibility. And so our state is kind of divided in half. Anything that happens in the western half of the state, Chad follows up on. Anything in the eastern half of the state, Jackie follows up on. So another really interesting tidbit about Goose and Kita is, even though they were trained exactly the same way, doing exactly the same tasks, Goose is treat oriented, so he gets snacks, and Kita is toy oriented. So when she gets things right, she gets to play with a toy. And so one of the first projects we had, they came to North Carolina November 10th. We had received some plant material to one of our North Carolina nurseries that came in from a state that has spotted lanternfly, and the material came in with live adults. Thank goodness we were called immediately when the material was there. We did our own inspections, but as soon as the dogs got here, literally that very next week, we had them, and we did set up a circle trap and did our due diligence, but and inspected the thousands of plants that came in. But we nothing that works as well as Kita being there and doing a survey. So as soon as our dogs came here, that was one of our first stops, and that was Kita surveying the nursery material that came in from. We know came in carrying live spotted lanternfly. Dana mentioned at the very first segment, our kickoff segment for the summit, that there was a World War II aircraft that went to an air show in Pennsylvania and broke down up there and sat there for 3 months and came back, and we got a call that the pilot got off the plane and had live spotted lanternfly on his back. Someone who was there at the airport knew what it was, contacted us. And so that was another project that as soon as they had the time, Jackie and Chad and Kita and Goose went and surveyed the airport. And Chad was actually able to get Goose into the airplane, and he hit on he kept going to this one particular area, and he hit on the dead adult that she found there. And so we believe that's what he was hitting on anyway, but that's what Chad found. So that's really promising for us that there could potentially that they're going to be able to potentially find other life stages, and we have seen that as well. So I have a couple videos to show you. I'm no videographer, and that's going to be painfully obvious. I keep trying to get this really great video, and I haven't, so I'm going to kind of talk you through what's going on. This is a demonstration. Again, we use devitalized egg masses, and I think maybe got to the. He is telling him to show him where it is. So he's found it. Goose has already found the egg mass and he's signaled, but he wants Goose to show him exactly where it is. And then he gets the treat. So remember, Goose is treat oriented. And then this, and full disclosure, this was at that same nursery where Kita had been working that morning. And I really just wanted to get a good video, so she did this for my purposes. There was a cat nearby that was absolutely tormenting our poor working dog. So they, in the end, even though they are checked to see if they have the perfect temperament for this work, these could be any types of dogs, or detector dogs could be anything. We had a choice between the two labs, and then there was also a German short hair that was being trained for spotted lanternfly work. These two are siblings. Kita and Goose are siblings from the same litter. But again, in the end, they're dogs, and so the cat was enjoying giving the dog a hard time, which is part of the reason that he was a little bit distracted. But if you watch, we have the egg mass hidden on this horse trailer. The handlers know what it looks like whenever their body language changes. They sit down to signal. And you can hear Jackie, she's saying, show me. And she won't get the treat until she's actually shown exactly where it is. And again, we knew that was there. And so Kita's reward is she will sit and play with her toy for a little bit. And she has that toy. This is the only time she gets to play with it. So she has other toys in her kennel, but this specific toy is for her reward only. And it looks like I'm almost already out of time. So this was one of our actual real finds. This was not a planted. We've had multiple reports in Corolla, which is at our Outer Banks, where we have a high tourist population from the north that comes into that area. So Jackie took we have had a photograph of a live nymph there. So we know that there's a population that's not been able to find anything. And so Jackie was doing surveying. The dog hit day one. It was late in the day, but they couldn't find anything. I asked her to stay overnight and come back the next day. This was the video Jackie sent me. So the question is, how far up in the tree can they find an egg mass? And the answer is, we don't know, but she is telling us something is up there, no question. She's sitting, she's alerting Jackie that there is something there. We looked, we got ladders, we tried to find what was going on. So we flagged this tree, we'll be watching it, but depending on how the breeze is that day, and depending on many factors as to how well they will be able to detect, how far they'll be able to smell up in a tree. Chad told the story of they were kind of down in a hollow, and the egg mass was kind of up high on a ridge, and the breeze brought it down to them. And so then they start figuring out, where are we going to find this? They'll be on it and they start tracking it. We do tons and tons of outreach, and we created these really great, they'll be improved over time. This was our quick throw together to have cards to hand out at our outreach events so people know what our dogs are there to do. In addition, one of our funding helped to get them vehicles. So very, very specific requirements for the vehicles the dogs have to have, and the kenneling, as well as other requirements that you may not necessarily think of. And so these are our trucks for our canines. They have the canine insert unit in them with fans, with alerts, alarms, so that the trucks get too warm. Not only do the fans kick on, but the windows will roll down, and there will be an alert to Jackie and Chad, because they'll be taking their dogs with them as they do other regular activities. They won't always just be out working with dogs. They may take them and work some, and then go do other inspections, those kind of things. And then finally, since I am a minute over in my time, I will stress to you what USDA has stressed to us over and over and over, that these are not pets. And so you can tell by these pictures that they are absolutely not pets, and we fully respect that. And I did ask the question one time, because we were told not to pet them, and I have absolutely fallen in love with these dogs. And in the end, the answer I was given in their labs, and they respond really well to love. And so I don't know that I can only speak for the two that we have, but I love these pictures, because if you look at all of them, they're doing what dogs do and trying to make us happy, and we're doing what we do, trying to make them happy. So again, I'm very grateful to USDA, and I'm very grateful to the canine training unit, and to all who made this happen. So are there any questions?
Really, no, we don't see any questions in the Q&A section for you.
Okay, well, you guys have my contact information. I know someone had asked earlier if they had some questions associated with the canine work. So if you guys wanted to send, you could just send those questions directly to me. I know Jackie also brought up in the chat, she would actually love to facilitate creating a network for everyone who has working canines for the type of work that we do, just to share information, so we're not all islands into ourselves. So we would love for that to happen as well. So she may be reaching out to your states, and if you guys wanted to help facilitate that, that would be great.
Great. Oh, actually, a question did just pop up for you. What was the application process for this project? So we got we got USDA funding, so we submitted a work report. So that was the application process, was submitting our work plan and budget to USDA through our state plant health director and the representatives of the cross-functional working group, the canine cross-functional working group. The canine training program, it is typically a little longer. Like I said, they expedited it for us. I don't know how long the dogs trained before we got there. And that does bring up an excellent point. And something that I wanted to mention is, again, if either of these employees leaves, the dogs go back to USDA.
If somebody has to be out for an extended period of time, the dogs go back to USDA until our employees come back to work. I can't fill in, no one else can fill in for the work that they do. And so these dogs will be with us for about 9 years. And then they'll be retired and the handlers get first dibs on them. So I don't know how long the dogs were trained before we got there. If Jackie and Chatter, they might be able to answer in there, but our handlers trained for 8 weeks, 4 weeks in Georgia and 4 weeks in Virginia where there is spotted lantern fly. And then they're constantly training here. They take the dogs out every working day and they use devitalized egg masses to continue to train the dogs here. So they're going to areas that they are serving, our highest risk areas or areas that we've had reports. They'll be going to Virginia next week where there is spotted lantern fly, but they train every single day.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Joy. Great presentation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will now move over to Dana Rhodes, our Division Chief and State Plant Regulatory Official from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Jay. Joy, if you can stop sharing your screen, I'd like to put something up.
Not trying. Just a little new shit. Let me figure out how to stop sharing.
And you do have a wonderful team. Dogs and people, they look fabulous. So kudos to you for being able to secure that. But I would be very remiss if I too did not show a picture of Lucky. Jay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not in presentation mode.
So
but
this is
there you
Lucky. She is our canine. Okay. And her handler is Shane, and she is a great worker for us. She actually, this is a warehouse full of fruit tree nursery stock that will be shipped to Canada, and the nursery stock is harvested from parts of Delaware as well as Pennsylvania. So she was assisting in making sure that there were no egg masses available, and because there are things that could poke her eyes, she does have her safety goggles on for the during the work that she was doing here with Shane. And if you are able to get a canine team, it is a great asset. She has worked with many industries. She's a great ambassador for us as well. She is able to, the business owners, the growers, they have truly appreciated having her come in. It's a great outreach moment, and it really has, they're actually, Penn State is working on a book about her story and what she does for spotted lanternfly. So just valuable team members there. So we have had 3 wonderful days, and I hope that you all have enjoyed all the information. You know, every year we come to this, every year we learn something. This is the 5th year that we have done this. Research, treatment options continue to be worked on. The prediction models, they get better and better with more information. So truly appreciate all the people working on those. ARS, the work that Spencer and Tracy Lusky are doing, that was fabulous. Spencer, those pictures, I'm still getting emails from people saying how great they are. So thank you very much for sharing those. That was great. The work that's being done on the impacts to our forest. I know Hoping has been doing quite a bit in DC with DCNR here in Pennsylvania. We appreciate all of that, as well as U.S. Forest Service support and the work that they're doing. The grape concerns. I thought that session was fantastic. Danella in California, seeing the prep work and the outreach that they have already started. for their growers and to raise the awareness for the public. Outstanding. But I hope you all have heard the biggest message that we need to get through. Partnerships. None of this will happen with one agency working on it. It has to be all of us. It has to be stakeholders, universities, extension, state and federal governments. We have to be talking to each other, communicating, doing exactly what we've done these past 3 days, which is sharing information. We're all learning, and you're going to see that there is different information provided, and what works in one area may not work in another. So please, please, if you have not been reaching out, if you feel like you are all alone, you don't have to be. You have a lot of people who will provide guidance, will direct you to people that might be better suited to help you. But please reach out within your state, talk to your extension folks, get that outreach, that communication. Jillian let me know that several people, she had 12 people requesting the Dropbox information. That's why it's there. There is no need for you to have to spend time and resources recreating things that are already available to you. So please, please use this as a resource. All of this information will be provided to you. We will let you know when it is available. I know that the Spotted Lanternfly 101 information has already been posted. So please keep that flowing for National Plant Board members. Just so that you are aware, you should have an invite on your calendar for next week for a 2 o'clock meeting for just National Plant Board members. So if you have some topics that you would like to address on that call, if you could please email me at danrhodes@pa.gov. I'd be happy to put an agenda together for you. Attendance, we were higher this year than we were last year. So this event continues to keep growing, and it's all because of the interest that you have. And I'm hopeful that it is because also the planning committee finds those topics that you would like to hear about. So please communicate with us if there are other sessions that you would like to hear about. We would like to know more about what it is that you are interested in. So again, thank you all for those who planned the event, those who have attended, and certainly for those who have been working behind the scenes. I can't say enough. Jacob, Brian, and Nancy have been monitoring the Q&A and the chat boxes and working on issues if things aren't getting loaded or people aren't able to present. So thank you all very much for all the work that you have done there. Cornell and the Northeast IPM have just been great partners for us. Appreciate all their efforts there. And then Jay, our facilitator, certainly you've done a great job today. So thank you all, and hope to see you again or hear you again, maybe see you again next year as we move forward. So take care, everyone, and thank you for your attention.